Hello again, everyone. Um, I know last time I definitely had some tips about how being good food to eat that was healthy and nutritious. And today I'm making cookies because they're also important. Um, the one thing that you will find as you go along this journey is that it is important to take care of your body, but it's also important to take care of your soul. And cookies are good for the soul. And the reason I chose cookies for this video is because this is actually the first thing that I did. The very first time that I was able to get out of bed by myself and I was alone, I got up, I made myself cookies, I made a giant mess, and I didn't clean it up. And it was glorious. And I laid in bed and ate too many cookies. But it was worth it. So, we're going to start off by kind of navigating the kitchen. It's, as you can tell, this is a normal size countertop. Just imagine, like you have, well, it is exactly, like you have to sit doing everything now. Like you are not as tall as you're going to be. Or at least as tall as you were. And then you can see, like I have these awesome cupboards that I'm never gonna reach again, unless one I get a nice robot that can lift me up that high. But they are quite tall, so they are decorative at this point. Now, to kind of combat that, what I recommend is if you have under the counter storage, start utilizing it. But then what I ended up also embracing is more minimalism, going through and finding like what I could live without. Because if you have lived away from home for a certain amount of time, you just seem to collect things. And if you cook, that seems to be like the gift that people keep giving you, is just more and more cookware, which is awesome, and thank you so much. But we always have to like combat that inner pack demon that makes our lives just more difficult than it really should be. You don't need 8,000 cooking utensils and pots. You need like a small pot, a medium one, and a large one. And if you got a really big family, maybe like, you know, a giant stock pot. You don't need one in every color. Now if you have a kitchen mixer, I would use it. I've never had one. That's also like the benefit of like making cookies without a kitchen mixer. It counts as exercise. So you're burning calories while you're making cookies. I like to soften the butter up a little bit before I start like actually adding the sugar so I can cream it together. And we are making macadamia nut cookies, or white chocolate macadamia nut cookies, which are my favorite. And then if you do notice that I am doing this in my lap, and this is one of those awesome situations which you find yourselves as an adult saying often, like, do what I say and not what I do. I would recommend getting an apron. You wear everything, especially like when you're baking. I'll get up out of the seat and I'll just find all of the flour that didn't make it into the cup, and I need to work on softening that. But this is just another example of like things that you used to do, you still can do. This might be not as fast. It might not be as efficient, but it still tastes good. Now, when you are learning how to get things in and out of the oven again, whatever you do, do not put it in your lap. Not even for a second. Not even just to get a better balance on it. That is how you burn your legs. And then figure out how cool of a blister you can give yourself. It's just very important to be aware of like what you are doing. Like even if you can feel your body, and even if it's like just a lesser amount, do not put anything out of the oven directly on your lap. Do not take like hot soup in a bowl and put it on your lap to go to the table. It's not worth it. And then also, the pretty important thing about cooking, regardless on if you are actually like handicapped or not, is to prepare. For this video, I brought everything out that I was going to need, so I didn't have to like go off screen every single second, so I could actually just sit here and talk to you. But I have my system set up so that way I can take the cookies out of the oven, put the hot thing over the sink, and then put the cookies down. It will help you to plan things, and that goes for like every day in your life. Especially like when you are going to a new place that you've never been before, or even places that you used to go to. Just find out if you can go to the bathroom there, where the entrances are, how you can get your wheelchair up into the establishment. And there are some places that are not wheelchair friendly. And unfortunately, some of that is also your home. And you just gotta make do. Sometimes you can have a friend help you. Other times you just got to roll with what life gave you, and it's not worth it to go. The one thing that I found really handy when I was learning how to get around the kitchen again and just cook for myself again is to just meal prep. It takes a lot longer than it used to do pretty much everything. It's the time that you give up by being able to be awesome and still be here. But when you work full time and you are just trying to like get something to eat in between, like on a break, it's so nice to have just something that you can take out of the fridge and microwave. And it's so much better for you than like taking a packet of ramen and just making it, even though it only takes like 3 minutes to make. It's only like 8 days worth of sodium. I have no idea. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a doctor. I'm a patient. I already have all my flour measured out, but we gotta put the other stuff in it. And this is like I said, just do a little bit of planning before you start. You don't need other people around to help you, to make sure that like you have delicious snacks available, delicious meals available. I mean, if you got 99 problems, and that's actually 99 problems would probably be nice. I got a lot more than 99 problems. I'm guessing you do too. But the point is, it makes everything better for you if you are able to just go eat something delicious instead of just looking at the fridge and it's empty. It's full of things you can't have, but you have to make. But if you just spend like one afternoon making it, the entire next week's going to be so much nicer. And that's a good life lesson for pretty much everything. Oh, that we're just going to count as enough. Because we were just talking about sodium, like let's load up the cookies. And then also, like the salt, vanilla. How much vanilla you put into something is more of a guideline. It's like the garlic limit. It doesn't really exist. Vanilla is kind of like this magic juice. It tastes not good by itself, but if you put enough of it in something, it becomes delicious. I don't know what magic it is. It's kind of like electricity. They say it works through, science and logic, but it's magic. That's all it is. I like to put the nuts and also the chocolate bits in as I'm mixing in the flour, so that way it gets incorporated evenly. Whoosh. And reaching across the counter for things, it counts as a stretch also. Why even go to a gym? Just make cookies. And also, why bother going to the gym? Why try so hard to open it when it's got a tear in it? Now, when you're not just doing some self care days and just making yourself cookies, what I like to meal prep for myself for breakfast, I like to make baked oats. And I think that I probably will end up making several videos with cooking. So if you're bored of it already, I'm so sorry. I'm back. I'm coming back. But baked oats, you put some fruit in it. For one person, you can make generally how big of one that you want, but how I make it is I make it 6 servings, so it's 6 days worth of food. And then on the 7th day is, that's meal prep day. And then it's kind of a free-for-all day for whatever you want to make. For lunch, I generally will have salad stuff around and shredded meat of some sort, generally chicken. And then for dinners, it's kind of it kind of depends on the week, but I do a lot of noodles or like pasta, which is also noodles, but a lot of stir fry. Make sure you get enough vegetables in, get your protein in, not just carbs. And then, you know, if you just happen to make cookies instead of baked oats, you got cookies for breakfast every single day. Sometimes you need that. In goes the rest of the white powder. And it's legal. Who knew? Now as we just kind of like sit here and watch me like mix cookies in my lap, the other thing that I had a problem with when I was first getting back into the swing of things is I couldn't sit up as straight as I am now. I was definitely still hurt, and I wasn't able to like look up like this at all. And so I couldn't really see into any pan that I had on the stove. They had recommended several things, like hanging a mirror up on the back so you can see, which ultimately, that was a little bit too much work for me. So I just, I would just tip the pan so I could see what was happening in it. But there are things that you can do, depending on like what your physical therapist says. You can raise your chair, and you can lower your chair if you want to be lower to the ground. I personally like to sit a little bit taller so I can reach things easier. But it comes down to like how you want to operate your wheelchair. And when it comes down to it, it is actually your choice. They have recommendations, but it is your choice. And that's the cool thing about life, is if you don't like it, you can decide to fix it if it's within your control. Now, obviously, there's things that are outside of your control. And if you can't do anything about those, what can you change to make it more manageable for you? I mean, if you really want cookies and you don't want to make cookies, you can always just go buy cookies. It's an option. Those are too cool to be part of the cookie club. And you can also take a break, no matter when or like what's going on. If you're on your own time and your own clock, it doesn't matter. You just do what makes you happy. And if there's anything that you are thinking that you cannot do again, I would challenge you to think about could you do them while you were sitting down? And then if it's hiking, like, why don't you Google all the cool, like, all-terrain vehicles that they have? You might not be able to, like, walk up a mountain, but you can certainly operate like an ATV looking wheelchair. I don't even know what they're called right now. But no matter what, if it seems insurmountable, just know that if it's not something you can do by yourself, you can probably do it with help. And if you can't do it with help, and you can't do it with all the technology that we have available, maybe you shouldn't do it. And maybe, like, what you're planning on doing is why you're in that wheelchair anyway. Because I know that's why I'm in this wheelchair. Unlike most things in life, if it's getting a little rough using utensils, you can just use your own hands. They are my cookies. If you were here, I'd share. But you're not, so I don't care. And then, even if you're just watching this video just because you're bored, or like I was, just laying in bed in rehab, just like hoping that I could figure out a way that I could just go back to real life. You're already living real life. And just is a little boring for the second. And as much as I want to wish you like a very speedy recovery, and that at no point is this going to be forever, if it is going to be forever, kind of like where I am right now, it's still going to be just fine. You can do just as much in this chair as you did before. A lot of you might even do more. The one thing that I chose not to continue doing, like from which I technically could have, is that the reason that I call this channel Wheels in the Woods is because I am in the woods, and I'm going to be in the woods quite a bit. But I had cows. I also have alpaca, and I got ducks and chickens, and I have a little farm. But I did decide after about a year, and that it wasn't looking like I was ever going to walk again, that I needed to sell the cows, because they are too much work. They were too much work for one person anyway. But at the end of the day, like, it's better for them. It's much better for me. And I can have cows again if I choose. Like, there's nothing about being in a wheelchair that says that if you are crazy and you want to, like, run after cattle all day long, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, that you can't. It just depends on what you're willing to do and how far you're willing to go for it. And if it's a money situation, I promise you, you can find the money to waste on cows. You can find the money to waste on pretty much anything if you choose. And then, of course, before you actually bake cookies, make sure you use any nonstick method that you like on your pans. Because it's really sad when you go through all the effort to make cookies and they're just burnt to the sheet. Make sure to inhale all the toxic fumes. And then, if you choose a completely different life than the one that you lived before, like, you could have done that anyway. But do not sit there and think that you can never do anything else, like, other than lay in bed and, like, have people help you. You've got the internet just as much as I have. There's so many inspirational people out there. As long as you have your mind and you have a will, there's always a way. Alright, we're going to put the first batch in here. I say the first batch, but this makes about 2.5 dozen cookies. And I am one human being. But I promise you I'm going to eat them, but not in one day. Because, one, I don't have the stomach for it, but two, like, that also could probably just ruin someone's digestive tract. We have bowel routines. This is how I do it. I like to let the door rest on the wheel. And just set it in. And then, of course, don't fall in the oven. And in about 10 minutes, I'm going to have fresh cookies. Which, that's going to make everybody's day better. But I hope that wasn't, like, the worst video that you've seen today. And if it was the best, give me a thumbs up. Love you guys. Have a good day.